I had this dream, okay. It's going I had this dream and I was thinking because I had this dream and I told the dream for dream book. Then I had a question after I'd done the dream and recall. I kept thinking about it, and it's been this thought has been rummaging through my head recently because of certain dreams I had that I mentioned in this other video I did. But I think it's more. I think I want to expand on it and just in general and recall. But okay, so the example I use for dreams is a movie, and I think it's more like an anime. Anime, and then you could confuse it for a movie. Anime, if you watch anime, it's cool. It's like cool story plots. But the weirdest thing about anime is they like some of the characters will give you like their thought process, and I think that's a dream. A dream will be like an anime, boom, 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 boom. Then sometimes it'll give you the thought process of that why they're doing that thing, right? If your dream goes that far, dreams are surface level, and that's how far it goes, right? And you can misconstrue a dream. In what the question I'm trying to get at is in my dreams it's like a movie, and then and I could understand how that could be construed as an anime because okay, let me just try to get it in the right way. Anime, it's outward. Everything is outward. It's surface level. Movie, it's there's times it could be okay. So anime, they go through the plots, and it goes through the plot, and they will also tell you the thought process of what they're doing. Surface level dream. Movies, obviously, how they tell the thought process inside a movie is through emotions, is through music, is through actions, everything's outward. And sometimes in the movie you'll get the person speaking in like an anime, I think a third person. Where you're like, okay, when they're going through the thought process. Rarely do they do that. They convey it through actions, emotions, music, and all that stuff. That's how they're able. That's how they do the thought process compared to anime where they actually tell you. So those two things, right? And you can misconstrue that. You can misconstrue that in this sense where I'm talking about the dream as that. You think because I'm thinking it because it seems like I'm thinking it out or whatever. It's still surface level, but what I'm trying to get at is why is that? Because if you look at a dream, now if you look at a movie, or well, anime, you can't really look at anime, but this is where I want to get at with the movie. You can't really do that with anime because essentially they're doing it, and essentially they're not real. They're just pictures. And the only way you could get that. second layer. The only way you can get that second layer is through the actual artist and the storyteller. In a movie, as I mentioned, in the movie, all you're seeing is surface level. Things are being conveyed through actions, emotions, music, or whatever the case may be. What they're trying to provoke, well, the person's thought process and stuff like that. And anyway, I could shoot that. In the gym, or sometimes they even give you their thought process. I think it's rare that they do that. It's super rare that movies do that, I think. And so you could misconstrue that sometimes. That this when I'm referencing the movie and the anime, I'm also like put them together to like a dream. So when I say you could misconstrue that as something else, I'm comparing that to a dream. So that's what you could, when you have somebody have a thought process or the emotion, stuff like that, you could misconstrue that as surface level within the dream and within the movie. But in reality, the movie, as I said, they're trying to portray through music and stuff like that, and sometimes they give you the thought process of the character. But in reality, if you were to jump into that movie, like a ghost or stuff like that, where you're just hovering around and stuff like that, in reality, what you're hearing is the person who's the actor is like, okay, this is my line, this is what I need to do, blah 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 blah. But you're only getting the surface level of the movie. But if you were to jump into the movie and actually, if the movie looked, if the reality of, if you jump into that movie and the reality was still like the movie, you don't see the cameraman, you don't see nothing but the actual setting of the movie. But the difference is you actually get the thought process of the person and not the reality of the movie. And so the reality of the movie is they're conveying the emotions, the actions, the thought process, even the thought process through actions and through emotions, through music, and sometimes the thought process is being told by the character. But if you were to jump into that movie and everything, all the settings is set as the movie, but you look into it, they're like, okay, I need to remember this line, I need to remember this, and it's not whatever the movie's about. But that's the real thought. And now I'm wondering, and this is, me being ignorant of, studies of dreams and because even then, you could study dreams and they don't really, they know the science of, it's like consciousness. It's like, we know there's consciousness, but the science behind it is like, we don't know. The same thing as with dreams. You could write it down to a science, but you don't have an actual grasp of what it is. And so what if, as I said, my ignorance and stuff like that, what if, and this could be plethora of things. Because as I mentioned, with my dreams, some dreams are very different. Like, there's a dream where I had uh, where I'm witnessing two brothers fighting, and then I think they're underground, and there's like this shaman and stuff like that. They're talking between the shaman and stuff like that, and then, as I said, this is a dream. I'm dreaming it. All of a sudden, the shaman just looks at me and starts to mutter something in the language or whatever, and then, but I also got the idea that it's like, why the fuck are you here? And then that's when it just felt like it no longer was a dream, and that I felt like I was in a moment in time where I shouldn't have been. So for me, that felt like when I woke up from that, because as soon as this shaman recognized me in the dream, it just felt it no longer was a dream, and it broke the illusion of the dream, and I felt like it was reality. And maybe in this case, it felt like maybe I was astral projecting, if you want to put it like that. Other dream would be I'm sleeping, and all of a sudden I mentioned this dream a lot, but car got in trouble, told people, hey, don't worry, it's just a dream. Woke up, sleep paralysis, getting shocked. And what is that? Is that is that like, is it like the Matrix? Is that like, is that like a reality I'm not able to go beyond? Here's a thought would be, this dream is a test. It could be, I say, it could be some therapeutic thing or some shit like that, where it's like, okay, you need not to always be so so good, I guess. And sometimes you just need to sometimes you need to be bad and not worrying about the repercussions, stuff like that, or whatever the case may be. But as I said, when I woke up from that, it seems like they were upset that I told them about it being a dream or some shit like that. What if? A dream could be just be vivid, right? It could be just so vivid that it seems real. Because those dreams I had that, where I did something very bad in the dream, and I'm like, I woke up sometimes like scared for my life, because I was like, I did something so bad that I'm like, are the cops are going to cover me right now? But because the dream is so vivid, so dreams could be vivid. maybe it's a astral projection where I'm facing a different time recall and dealing with that. It could be therapeutic in just the simplest form, therapeutic. Like you could have like the dream I had about my sister where she's in the ring and I told her I miss her a lot. It could be therapeutic like that. Simple surface level. It could be, I don't know what that is with the would that be under, is that like testing, a testing dream? That, and then there's a lot. Here's another dream. As I mentioned, there's dreams I have where I'm actually thinking, and I have, you could misconstrue that for a movie. Actually, for a movie that's actually giving you a thought process of the character by the character actually telling you it, which would be like an anime form. But because I don't want to use the anime in this case, because I think dreams are like that anime. But the reason why I wanted to use movies instead of animes right now, because I think animes are dreams, surface level dreams, and you can misconstrue a thought process for the actual thought process, but it's an anime because it's giving you an outward and stuff like that. But I think movies are more of a better example to explain this certain kind of dream, because in a movie you could get all that. You can even get the anime version where they're giving a thought process, but once you jump into that reality of that movie and everything's the same in the setting, then you can actually go into the minds of the people, and in reality you could tell, instead of them actually doing the thought process as actions and like music and them actually telling you the thought process, you actually reading their minds, and it's not that it's I need to remember this line, or oh, the catering for the food that we had is bad, or I need to use this restroom badly, this person annoys me, the actor I'm dealing with annoys me. But that's the actual thought process. That's the real life we call. And in my dreams, I think everything's surface level, then all of a sudden there's the second layer where you're actually getting the reality of the situation. And I'm wondering, is that parallel? Is that like parallel? Because there's two dreams. The one dream I had was, the one dream I used was a dream I had where there's like a wall of snow ready to just fucking destroy everything around us, and the person, I think was me, saw this wall and immediately thought two things. If I run and try to outrun it, which was impossible to do, as I was thinking this out in my head, chances are that thing is going to collapse on me and kill me. But because of the weight of it, and as I'm running, it's going to be an immediate death. Because I'm in motion and stuff like that, and the snow will just catch me, and I'm going to smash my whole body in my head, and I'm out immediately. And the other thought process I had was, or I could just lay down, let it hit me. It won't be as bad, as severe as it would have been if I ran, but it wouldn't change the fact that I was going to die because I would be covered in snow. However, from bottom level to the end of the top level of the snow, it could be like a foot, but it could also be like 20 feet. And to climb out of that, no matter what it would have got, I still would have died. And I'm going through this thought process in the dream. Then there's one where this recent one I just woke up that made me think about it again, which is, I don't know exactly the thought process. I just know I was thinking, I'm pretty sure I remember it in the first video, but I was just thinking in that I had the actual thought process of what's going on inside the head of the dream, which was me and stuff like that. And now I'm like wondering, parallel, is that me? Because it related to me into the mobile home I used to live in and stuff like that. And even though that mobile home no longer exists, it still had that. And maybe in another life, it was different, and this is the parallel we call. Or is this like a testing thing where you're just running through a maze like a rat, and they're just saying how you're thinking about this in that situation in the dream. So you're dreaming, but in the dream you're actually having the second layer where you're actually having to see the thought process of the people, or in this case you're the person and you're actually getting the thought process of the dream. I don't know. I just think it's odd. It's odd. Because I think during the surface level, you're gonna see all those things. You're gonna see all those actions. You're gonna see all those emotions being played out. But also you don't get the thought process played out, and everything's outward. But recently, at least because I'm documenting my dreams, and I'm able to now remember them more vividly, and but also look at them deeply than just dreams. And as I said, this is just probably my ignorance and not knowing, but then again, I could say that but there's people who you can't really probably use scientific research with dreams, just like consciousness, because if you start to add that variable, they're gonna be like, that's not possible. They're like, all the things I'm mentioning, where I'm getting shocked because whatever, it could be in my brain, or it could be alien, it could be something else. But I'm getting in trouble because I told the dream world that this is just a dream. And science is like, yeah, that's crazy. And that's not really happening. And it could also be abduction. There's a other dream I was in sleep paralysis where it basically, like, I heard voices as I'm in and out of sleep, I think, in recall, saying he's waking up, and that could be an abduction. But as I said, um science things, but like, no, that's crazy. You're weak, so you can't. You can't really do that. So even though I said my ignorance of recall, it's more or less of looking at other people. Well, it could be maybe we need to all document our dreams. And not only document our dreams, but also allow us to have that. Allow us to. They keep saying like this, the woo woo. Allow the woo woo to be a reality, to be actual a possibility for science, and not cuckoo. And then we could probably have a better understanding of dreams instead of it's just a dream, and its surface level. There's nothing more to it. There's no astral projecting. There's no aliens abduction. There's no, hey, you shouldn't be doing that because you're disrupting the dream world and stuff like that. So as I said, I don't know if I could say my ignorance, but then again, legal. But I think the point I'm trying to get is obviously people are dreaming like the way I dream. It's just more or less of who's dreaming that. It's more or less of how they're taking it. Are they taking it as just a surface level dream, or are they willing to go beyond that and say this is more than that? And I think is when I'm able to the surface level, and there's the second, and then I'm able to go to the second layer. Is it I'm able to bring life to the dream? Is it a test within the dream? Is it a parallel to the dream? Is it life to the dream, parallel to the dream? What else I said? Parallel life, no parallel dream. Is it giving reality to a dream? Is it test? Is it parallel? Is it test, parallel, reality? Test, parallel, test, parallel, reality. Is it? Yeah, I think those are only three options, right? Parallel would be an extra life. It's a life different to to your life that you had. Test is basically you're running a maze and you're actually able to. You're actually in that maze and you're just getting the actual thought process in there too. Or is it just giving reality to a dream? Or is it complication, complexity? Well, are you building up a dream? Like from the ground up? Is that a simulation? Is your brain just simulating a reality? It could be a lot of things, and I just thought it was. I thought it's been weird that it feels like I'm going beyond the surface level of a dream and actually witnessing thought process and actually experiencing those thought process as the dream is happening. And now that's the question. What is that? What is that? What is that? What is that? Is it no longer a dream? And no longer is it no longer a dream? Is that is your brain? Because obviously they could see it when you go into REM and REM 2. An actor you can see in your eyes. Because there's also dreams like yeah, it could just be because you're not going into, because there's a dream I had. There's two dreams. Okay, explain two dreams, right? One is probably very explainable. The other one's not. No, that one actually could be, no. They both could be very explainable, but I think they're two different things. What I'm gonna say. One dream I had. I'm sleeping. I could be in a deep sleep right now, or I could be, my sleep will be so bad that even though I think I'm sleep, like even though I think I'm in REM 2 or whatever, I'm actually still REM 1 or episode us, because there's like layers seriously, and even though I think when we're like fully asleep, I think like I think it's like, I don't know how the hours, but you're not. If you were to sleep 8 hours and you're fully deep in your sleep, like fully deep, I think it's like, I don't know. I'm just throwing up a number, like 3 hours full. Like an hour would be you slowly, even though you're sleeping, you're not fully rested. I guess it slowly builds up, and then you're slowly backing out of it. So that's what I'm saying. Even though like recall, I'm still I'm still not in the deep REM, and so the dream was I'm in a car, and I opened the door, and I woke up. And the reason why I woke up is because it was me actually stepping. It was me actually stepping out. Like if I was actually recall. And so that's the one where like, are you in a different space and time, and then you're actually in the minds of someone who's in this red car, and then you experience your experience, and then you wake up because you realize, oh, this is not me, and then you're like, you're stepping out of the car because we go. What was the other dream I had? Fuck. Oh, the other dream would be I know I know I was sleeping, and I know I was like in between trying to sleep and trying to stay up and stuff like that. It basically just either me kicking or whatever the case may be. Because that one's more or less that's understandable, because it's like I'm fighting my sleep. There's not me in my sleep actually sleeping. I'm fighting my sleep, so it's like I'm still awake, but I'm still awake, but I'm also still trying to sleep. No, I'm in, I guess, dream world, but I'm still trying to stay up. So it's like these two battles, and then I'm playing out the dream. In this case, where I'm kicking. But the other one with the car, I was in I'm not sure if I was in REM, but I was just sleeping. There was no fighting in my sleep. I was sleeping, and then I recall. I woke up because I was actually playing out those actions in the dream, and I just. And what I want to get at is the brain and consciousness and stuff like that. Even though, as I say, even though when they look at the brain and see movements in the eyes, when you close your eyes, you could tell in your dream that you're dreaming, because I think the one thing is your eyes are actually active. Obviously, the other one would be the brain is active. They could actually see as you're dreaming, you can actually see activity happening. And I think it's the brain, but this is the idea where we, like, what is reality. I gotta make sure I'm not going too far. Okay, make sure reality would be damn, where I was going to go with that. I shouldn't have done that. Fuck. Damn. I'm talking about the brain. Talking about consciousness. Fuck. Either way, I mentioned how your eyes are moving, the brain being active. Fuck. I'm also like, the reason probably why I'm fucking aimlessly going through this is because I just woke up from a dream, and I just want to think this out, and I think there's something to this, and so I'm wide awake now because it's fucking 8, and I have to be up now because if I go to sleep, I have to go to, it's like only 30 minutes before I have to go to work. But I just think now, maybe, because I want to go talk about the brain and consciousness and dreams, and where do they play is. The other thing about dreams too is you can't create. Here, so I'm gonna go back to the alien thing too, but you can't create, in dreams you can't create faces. You can't create these we call random things. Like the recent dream I had, one of the people was somebody I knew from work, and she was in the dream, and there's the other person there too, and I didn't really see their face, but the back of their head was visible, and that was a reminder of that certain person. It couldn't be that person. It could be that person. It couldn't be that person because they didn't show their face because they were looking, I guess, the opposite way from this other person. And but you had the idea because of how the back of their head looked and shit like that, and so I knew, okay, this is this person. But you can't, in a dream, you can't create new faces. And even though you might not have seen his face before, it could be a glimpse of a person that you've seen from walking by, and you might have looked at them or whatever the case may be. And this is one of the theories I had. Maybe this is a sign we are in a simulation, because the same thing goes with AI. They can't create new faces. They only gather all the information on the internet to create a face, but they can't create. I guess that's creating a new face, but that's not. It's only because it's gathering information. Whereas what makes us distinct, that separates from us from the simulation and or the machines and us, is we are creative, and we could. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. That we're creative, that we could create new things without in our heads. We could create new things. It could be a fucking lie, and we could be like, oh, the only reason why we're different between machines and us, the difference between machines is we have an imagination. So I guess this would go into the whole theory of not theory, but the whole issue where it's like when it became to art and music and all these other things, is like, oh, the only saving grace from AI and us is they can't emulate what we could do. So the emotions and blah blah blah, and inside of music or inside of drawing, they can't emulate that because they're gathering information from a computer and stuff like that. And our difference is that because we could create things, new things and stuff like that. While it may seem like the AI is creating something new, it's only getting information, and while realizing we're doing the same thing, but because we want to feel all like, oh no, we're different. This is we call they're machines. We're humans. We're able to create new things while worrying about while grabbing we up, but in reality we aren't doing any different than the machines, and so that could break that illusion that we're like different, that we could do things different than we up, but in reality we're not. And the dream goes, and you can't create recall in a dream, and you can't create new faces. It's gathered. It's from glimpses from people and stuff like that. So there's that's the idea. Maybe recall. Maybe this is why maybe we're not. Maybe we are part of the simulations and stuff like that. The idea is maybe we are part of the simulation because we can't create new faces. It has to be from something we've seen. And now I'm like thinking like, okay, so chances are we are part of a simulation, right? And then there's a dream I had about the alien, where there's a bunch of kids and this one alien. From what I'm getting is the alien, she's either my wife or she's because if you're aware of that alien conspiracy, you're basically there's like hybrid kids. They come and show you the hybrid kids and stuff like that, and they show you boom, these are your kids and stuff like that. In this case, I feel like that might be this is me just thinking of what this dream kind of meant, and that could have been like that one alien who stood out from the kids that were all running around trying to get in line or whatever the case may be. She might have been the one who was birthing these kids and stuff like that. But what I was trying to get at is that the look of these things weren't we call, and I was able to think this. Maybe I seen something of that other than the alien face lady. That stink in itself, but everything else with the recall, maybe that's a sign that I'm not part of the simulation. And maybe if you're a creative, maybe you aren't part of the simulation. If you're not a creative, an artist of some sort, maybe we're all weak, but maybe even because also, you know what I'm saying, I'm grabbing several things from several things that I'm not even speaking about, because if I'm explaining everything, it could be up. But so as I said, with the whole, if you can't create faces, in this case I was able to create these faces. I'm not sure if I got the like actual faces because some of them were hidden and stuff like that. I'm not sure if it would recap, but I was able to come up with this idea. Maybe that separates me from the simulation, that I'm actually a person. And the other thought was there was this thing on Chris Williamson where he brought in this chick, and she said that people who are creative are close to being schizophrenic because they have these certain I guess genes that are close to being schizophrenic. It's just I guess I didn't reach that part where it becomes, where I become an actual recall, but there's a chance I could be, because of that's how close you are on the edge of it. You have it, and doesn't mean you won't get there. And I'm thinking like maybe that's how you could tell, because it means that you're not part of the simulation, because it's recall. And the other thought would be there's this conspiracy that they're you're lumped in, the artists, the creatives are lumped in with all these bad people trapped on Earth like a prison. And probably the reason why the artists are trapped in with these other horrible people is because they don't want, because they aren't part of the simulation, and they want them trapped with all the bad people, because if they were to be let go, they'd be like a havoc to the system, or wherever the case may be. The theory came from one of the guests on Jesse Michaels and stuff like that. No, them having that causing havoc, that's just me thinking out. But the idea of artists and other horrible beings being trapped on the planet of Earth is from that guy, and I'm just using that recall. So it's like there's a thought right there, and I'm thinking about the second the layer above, because there's the dream, and then there's another layer. Is that you being able to go into the simulation and actually you see it beyond the vehicle? Is that a sign too? Is that, I just think dreams aren't as simple as just you dreaming. I think it's far more different, and I'm trying to piece this together too. I'm trying to think this through, and also the brain. Also, I guess the other thing I didn't mention, I wanted to mention, I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but the perception, and I think I could be wrong. But we see 2D in reality, what we see. So that's what we see. We see 2D with our eyes. I forgot how I went. I think we see 2D. I think the brain helps us go 3D. The brain helps us see 3D, but our eyes see 2D. I believe that's the case. I see 2D, brain gives us 3D. I'm trying to check that out. Ooh, don't want to say that out loud. Eyes see 2D, brain sees 3D. Eye captures a flat 2D image in the retina. The brain creates a 3D. Okay, so yeah, that's the case. So we only see 2D with our eyes. 3D, our brains gives us 3. Our brain gives us 3D. And I guess the best way to explain how we actually supposed to see is a cardboard. If you see like a person, but it's a cardboard, that's how we're supposed to. That's how we, with our eyes, we're supposed to see it. But because of our brains, it gives us 3D. So in reality, even though, so that's how we see our the way we see things. So I'm thinking, because they mentioned how our brain is so complicated and so we call it's like a computer. Is it so what I'm looking in my head is consciousness becoming a thing, but for it to exist in the material world, or we call it to exist in the material world while being just a air or whatever the case, what conscious might be, it's needed to have something to give everything, I guess we call. So in my head, what I'm imagining is the consciousness creating the brain, and this is in the brain. And my thought is the brain the conduit to the consciousness, or is the brain helps you find it gets you, does it connect you with consciousness, and is that the realest thing to, is the brain a sign of is the brain the sign of like real, no, not like that, of nature in the sense of being real. Like just say a tree, it doesn't have a brain. So because it doesn't have a brain, does that, it really cuts it from the consciousness? Does it make it become part of the matrix, or whatever case may be? But because we have brains, maybe I guess maybe that's mother's consciousness and the brain is the baby. Because I think with the brain it could just be a lot. And I think the brain could be what connects us to the consciousness, or separates us from the consciousness. Because as I'm thinking, maybe if there wasn't a brain, consciousness would still have we wouldn't be separate from consciousness, and we will be a whole fucking consciousness, and there would be one thought. But because there's a brain, we're able to separate from the consciousness. Is that what it is? Is the brain separating the consciousness from the big consciousness? And dreams are us interacting with the consciousness, which could reach out to parallel universes and different dimensions and whatever the case may be. Is the brain the separation of the consciousness? Is it cutting off consciousness so so there's individualism in everybody instead of having, so instead of the brain being like, so the brain had to cut off, so the consciousness, so the consciousness for the consciousness to be free. No, so for the consciousness to not have a single, collection, to be this big entire consciousness, gas of thought or whatever the conscious is, it uses the brain to separate itself from the consciousness. And sometimes in dreams or in the imagination or whatever, that's sprung from something out of thin air, that's probably from the consciousness. You're probably grabbing from the consciousness. When you're dreaming, you're in the consciousness, you're experiencing somebody's existence, or you're just creating an image or an idea. And if you don't have a dream, then you might be a fucking robot, maybe. Because also this theory I have is you could be simulation could simulate the idea of consciousness, and you won't know the difference between the two. And the other example I used was two atheists. Not necessarily. It's a joke. Two atheists walk into the bar. One saw heaven, one didn't. One saw blackness. The idea is, the reason why these two atheists saw two different things is because one atheist is a actual living being, while the other atheist is a part of the simulation. and these things are coexisting with each other. And one, even though this person believes that we're a part of a simulation, this person is not, no, that there's no God. This person is actually, even though they person believes there's not a God and stuff like that, this person is actually, no matter what, this person is still a living being, while this other person who was correct wasn't. And the idea is this simulation is so good that it was able to capture that feeling of consciousness. But as soon as they died, they realized, oh yeah, no, you were part of the simulation. They wouldn't know it because essentially they would die. I think that's the thing, though. I think I came up with something. I think the brain is separating. What the fuck? I think the brain is separating. Yeah, about to go. I think the brain is separating. It's separating the consciousness from the bigger consciousness, and that's why we're dreaming. And maybe that's why we dream the way we dream. And maybe that's where I'm getting at with the second layer, is I'm able to see within the dream. And actually, I guess my dreams are being, I don't know, like, ooh, my dreams are being so complex that I'm able to now finally go in depth into somebody's thoughts or whatever. Or I'm confusing a movie or anime for what I think is a second layer. Well, I think that's it. I have to get ready for work. But that's a cool thought.